Hey, look, welcome to Quit Apologising for Existing because your worth is non negotiable. So, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who I am. So, I am a psychotherapist specializing in hypnotherapy. I deal with many different people. I definitely niche rejection. Because I actually feel that that is the root cause of everything. And I utilize body intelligence. So I'm starting a BQ movement because I feel that this is where it's at. And all the leading experts, like if we're talking Bessel van der Kolk, Gabor Mate, Robert Scale, so many different people, Pat Ogden, are all talking about the body. Somatic experiencing as well. Sorry, I've got a bit of a distraction here. My dog's under the table and he's trying to lick my feet. So what I actually deal with is I can help people with addictions as well. So addiction can be as a result of rejection. So, anger can be as a result of rejection, stress, emotions. So when we're looking at these people that are on the screen right now, we've got a guy who's angry. We've got, smoking, or maybe that could be joints. We've got this girl that just feels like she's just like she's had enough. She can't take it anymore. Everybody pointing the finger at her, lots of blame in there. And we've got this guy that's just sitting there on maybe a park bench, and he's just like, he also can't take it anymore. The chick with the baby, just maybe she's feeling overwhelmed and she just needs a break. So I can actually help with all of these people. So, what exactly do you want? Do you want to overcome shame and guilt? Maybe, you want to just feel validated. When you ask somebody, just for maybe some support, and all they're doing is giving you, well, you should have done this, or you should have done that, or why do you do this all the time? When you just need at times just to feel validated, maybe just feel justified in how you behaved. Acceptance for yourself. Maybe a little bit of self-love would be great. Maybe you need some help with establishing boundaries. So, look, all of these things, what do you want? What do you need? Okay, so some of the biggest challenges that people with rejection face, maybe you've got people pleasing issues. So breaking free from that habit, trying to make sure that everybody likes you. We people please because, we want to be accepted. We want to be part of the group. We want to be included. So this actually goes back to our village days, because if you're out of the group, out of the village, this is life or death. So it's detrimental to us. So we want to be liked. Overcoming self-doubt and feeling like you're good enough. Look, I was reading up the other day, and I actually believe that it may even be up and around about the 90% of people who at times have felt like they're just not good enough. So regardless of what statistics say about who's actually going in to seek support, I've got statistics coming down the line, but look, if people, the amount of people that feel at times that they've got self doubt or they feel like they're not good enough, I actually feel like the figures are around about 90%. When we're setting and holding healthy boundaries, sometimes this can be really, really difficult. And just when you set a healthy boundary, when you're setting a boundary with somebody who also is healthy, things are easy. They're open to hearing what it is your boundary is. And, if they care about you, they're going to do what they can to support you with that whole boundary that you've just said, please don't do this. It upsets me. It hurts me. But if you've got somebody who perhaps has got a lot going on themselves, those boundary settings can be quite difficult. Maybe it's a boundary that you have to do again and again and again because just perhaps that other person isn't capable of hearing you or listening to you. And in some cases, maybe they just don't care. Reclaiming your identity and knowing who you are. So, do you know who you are? Do you actually know what you like and what you don't like? Or is that whole people pleasing behavior, over, that whole people pleasing behavior? Do you actually then find that you like activities that maybe your partner does, but do you really like that activity? Like, is that for you or is that for somebody else? You're trying to people please them. So what is it? Who are you? What do you like? What do you want? Like mothers, they say, when they're asked, so who are you? And people might go, oh, well, I'm a mother of 3. That is not your identity. That is not who you are. So who are you? So this is Ollie. He's my boy. Sorry, you can't even see him. He's right here. This is my Ollie. Okay, so healing from emotional loneliness and feeling seen. You know what? Emotional loneliness is, I think, quite massive. So just perhaps when we were growing up, were your emotions, was it okay to show emotions? Was it comfortable to show, that you were sad, that you were overwhelmed, or did you just have to suck it up because, your emotions were uncomfortable for perhaps your caregiver or those around you? So your emotions and perhaps just, in stuffing them down, you've actually never learned how to release them and show them, to feel seen, to feel truly seen. Okay, so the benefits of what it is that I do, of what I provide, it is absolutely limitless. It's very subtle. I feel it's extremely compassionate. But some of the things that, you might experience is, that feeling of not good enough, that just tends to fizzle out. Okay, that self-talk, that negative self-talk, that parrot that's going on in your head, just it tends to just fizzle. The silent inner critic. Decode your body signals. So choose power over panic. So you start to get to know your body signals. You start to actually take note of them and transform rejection into fuel for growth. So what we're doing there is those feelings of unworthiness, we're going to change them around so that you do actually feel like you're good enough. And, so we can use that to just power us on, to make change, to have focus. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? Okay. So we look at boundaries so that we can block those toxic vibes. What are you going to put up with? What are you willing to put up with? And where exactly is your boundary? We rewire the mind. We celebrate bold self-worth. We activate tools and convert adversity into strength. So when our bodies are saying to us, no, that's not safe, we can change that. We can change those automatic signals. Radical shift, yes, elevate your resilience and power. We have the power to unleash bold self-esteem and reshape your relationships, because when you start to unravel, everything that's going on for you, that your relationships change. Now, sometimes it can be quite difficult when we change our relationships because other people have been so used to you being a yes person to them that when you start putting in your boundaries and you start changing, that they don't start to like having the pushback that's happening. But you've got to understand that this is right for you, to claim your blueprint for fierce, unstoppable living. Yes, it is about you and no one else right now. Okay? What do you want? And go after it. You have a right to that. We only get one life. Why not live it? All right. So I'm going to talk to you about implicit memory. So your body actually stores the feelings and reactions from past experiences unconsciously. So even from back in the womb, so our body learns to respond in such ways in order to protect us. It's just like your reaction to if you fall over and your arm goes directly out. Sorry, you can't see my arm right now. Your arm goes directly out, or both arms go directly out to provide, so you're not, your face isn't hitting the ground, so you're not hurting yourself. You just, you've got that implicit survival instinct to just put your hands out. And that's exactly what our body is doing when it has anxiety, let's say. So when you start feeling nervous about perhaps going to a party, you're getting all anxious and worried about it. And that's because your body's going, hey, we've been here before and it was dangerous. It's not safe for you there. And just part of your coping mechanism might be to have a drink before you go to make you feel safe. Or maybe you're that social smoker that when you get there, you start to have a cigarette and then you have a drink just to cope with that experience. But could you imagine what that experience would actually be like if you didn't have that anxiety coming up? Wouldn't that make a difference? Because you'd see that your body would experience that party as not being a threat, but of maybe something of exploration and adventure, a place of maybe fun and getting to know new people. So implicit memory it's built on previous experiences that you've had, and your body is just signaling through you. It might be a signal um, through a heaviness, or it might be a hot or cold feeling. Maybe it's in either your head, your chest, or your gut area. It might have a color attached to it. So if you were to just close your eyes and just notice what is going on within the body, because the body comes first. Okay, so infants actually develop an attachment to their caregiver, okay, and it's securing the safety and emotional support so that baby feels safe with mum and knows that mum is going to look after them and support them. And if whilst mum is looking after them, she's actually helping that baby to self-regulate. She's showing them in that first year and a bit, she's showing them safety. Okay. Now that mum only has to be attuned to that baby around about 30% of the time. But it's not the attunement, but how that person actually is able to adapt and respond to that baby, like when she's misattuned. So let's just say the baby's signaling that, hey, I need food, but mum's going, oh, baby needs change of nappy, or baby needs a cuddle, but really they're saying, no, I need food. And the quicker that mum can actually get to the food and adapt to the child and get that attunement back in. Now, when baby is upset, so baby's really upset, they're crying, they're upset, and they need to be, brought back to calmness, okay, to that balanced area. So what's mum going to do? She's going to pick them up, she's going to hold them, she's going to nurture them, and she's going to go shh, 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 shh. So she's bringing them back down, okay? So she's going shh, 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 okay? And in the morning, let's just say baby needs to come up, to come into balance. So when baby wakes up in the morning, how do you wake up your child? When you love your child, you pick them up and you say, "Good morning, good morning. How are you today?" So you're using your voice, and that baby is responding to your facial gesture, your face expressions, your body gestures, and your tone of voice. This is how baby communicates in that first year and a bit of life. Okay, so we've got attachment and attunement, because these mold the beliefs, the behaviors, the stress responses. Okay, now if you've had a supportive, unconditional, loving, and safe upbringing, okay, you're going to end up having having confidence. You're going to have less anxiety, if anxiety at all. We're going to have less anxiety. We're going to feel confident out in the world. We are going to feel good about ourselves. We're going to have self-worth and self-esteem, and just feel fun, happy. We're going to be more open and more curious to, adventure and exploration. We're just going to be a lot more open. And when we are safe, we are also going to find ourselves partners that are also safe, and somebody who's going to connect with us on that same level. Okay. And we are also going to act with authenticity. They are going to know who they are. They are going to understand their identity. They're not going to feel the need to people please. They're going to be themselves. Okay. Okay, so attachment theory. So when children are scolded or criticized, they are more likely to internalize the negative feedback and blame themselves rather than see the criticism as a fault of the adult. Okay, so this internalization can undermine their self-esteem and shape insecure attachment patterns. So if you've had a caregiver that is perhaps on drugs, alcohol, perhaps they're angry people, maybe they're highly anxious, they're not able to be there for that child in the capacity that they need them to be. And what the child actually sees is not safety when they look at that caregiver, when that caregiver is in that state. They see they see that person as being a unsafe person. So because they're not providing the child with the safety. And also just on that, so that those people who are highly anxious, perhaps they've got anger issues, they've got the alcohol, drugs going on, those kinds of people, if they're the prime caregiver, how much emotional support are they going to be able to provide? How much patience are they going to have for that child? Okay, so this can really, so if that person doesn't have much patience, if they don't have much time for the child, the way that's going to land on that child is like, I'm not important. I don't matter. Okay, and that is going to be the belief that they end up with. So that's it. When the prime caregiver is inconsistent, when they're anxious, avoidant, fearful. The child learns that so quickly. Remember, the child is learning from facial expressions, gestures, tone of voice. Okay, so what are the facial expressions, the tone of voice, the gestures going to be of that anxious, that avoidant, that fearful? And by the way, anger is fear. What's that child going to learn? Okay, it's learning your body language, it's learning to deal with it. And what they're also doing is they're learning to people please. They're learning that, right, so this person's unsafe right now. What can I do to make things better? How can I make things different? Because a child is very narcissistic. They don't understand that there's other things that are affecting that caregiver. They're kind of like, oh, what can I do? What do I need to do to make things better? So that I can be safe with this person again. Okay, so insecure attachment. The caregiver is, they might be neglectful, inconsistent with their caring, unresponsive. Maybe they're disconnected, so they're not actually in tune with that child. Now, Dr. Neufeld, he's a leading expert. He says that anxiety is an attachment alarm. So that, if you've got anxiety, you didn't get the right attachment whilst you were young. And I also want to stress that this is no fault of the parent, but it's generational. Okay, so if your parent has had issues, if that caregiver has had issues, well, it's, they're just trying to cope. They're just trying to do the best that they can with what it is that they have. Okay, so emotional wellness stats. Okay, so these are psychological traits. So the number of people that they've got coming in, that they've been able to grab stats on, and just take these stats with a grain of salt, because, as I said earlier, I feel like those people that have the low self-worth, I think that personally that's up and around the 90%, not down to the 27%. Those people who, at times have felt like I'm not good enough. And we learn that. We learn that from childhood, from our caregivers. Okay, so these are just some stats. People with perfectionism, people with unresolved anger, limited self-compassion. I mean, honestly, if I go through all of the relationships that I know, I don't know anybody that has got perfect mental health. All right, so people who say, I'm sorry all the time, 70%. Now, you're not going to be apologizing for yourself all the time if you feel good about yourself. Okay? Is it okay if I Okay? I don't want to be a burden. Look, maybe you don't want to be a burden on mum or dad, or maybe on other people. You feel guilty when maybe a waitress, takes your plate, even though she's being paid for it. You feel guilty about them actually doing something for you. Oh my God, and what if somebody is actually nice to you? Does that feel uncomfortable too? What if somebody was to pay you a compliment? Is that comfortable? All right, addiction. So the definition provides you with temporary relief, pleasure, or something that you crave. It also has negative consequences, and even though there are negative consequences, there is still an inability to stop. Now, this goes across so many different things. So, I once heard about this lady, and she'd go to gym, and it wasn't gym that was the addiction. It was actually the feeling of the pain that comes with going to the gym. That is what her addiction was. That's what she felt she needed. Okay, so addiction can be many things, and it's unique to each and every person as to perhaps if they have an addiction and if they don't. Now, the difference between what an addiction is and what a passion is. So, the addiction, the definition that I've just given you, whereas the passion has to do with, if you really enjoy doing something, if you really enjoy doing something, but it's not just about the end goal, you enjoy the whole process of everything that you do. Okay, you have such passion for it. That is therefore then not an addiction. Okay, it's the whole process and enjoyment from learning and growing and doing. That is passion. All right, now I'm just wanting to touch on ACEs because this has to do with how people can be graded or rated, I guess you'd say. Now, some people might have one ACE, some people might have two, some people might have three, some people might have four, or some people might have 4+. So when you were growing up, during your childhood experiences, did you ever experience physical abuse, emotional abuse, or sexual abuse? Any one of those is 1 mark. Okay, so physical abuse, 1 mark, emotional abuse, 1 mark. Okay, did any of you happen to experience neglect? That might be physical neglect. Maybe you were left at home a lot. Maybe you were ignored a lot, pushed to the side. And that emotional neglect. Remember what I said earlier about not being able to show your true emotions, that it might have been uncomfortable for the other person. Maybe they might say to you, stop being such a sissy, or don't be a girl. That that's not good. That's emotional. Well, sorry, that comes under emotional abuse, but not being able to show your emotions, that's emotional neglect. And then we have household dysfunction. Okay, so maybe one of your caregivers had mental illness. Maybe they had depression. Maybe they had really high anxiety. Maybe there was something more, bipolar or something else. Perhaps your mother was treated violently. Okay. Oh, I just realised that I've actually got a spelling error in there. Okay, so what about divorce? I mean, there's a lot that happens around divorce. For some couples, it's the lead up to the divorce. So how is the children actually being treated in the lead up to the divorce? And then that's a lot of pain and hurt right there. But then there's also the stress as well of after you've left, there might be financial stress and just trying to get on in life. And maybe there's arguments about who's going to look after the child this weekend, or those kinds of things that come up. Maybe you've had an incarcerated relative or substance, a caregiver with substance abuse. So substances could be drugs, and it could be even prescriptive drugs. It could be alcohol. So, but there's other kinds of abuse I'd say under that as well. So not just substance. I would even put addiction under there and just go, gambling. So there's definitely other ones, sexual, shopping, addictions, many different kinds of addictions. Okay, now the more ACEs that you have, so the more marks that you have, the higher your risk is for adverse health outcomes. So in your behaviours, maybe you've got a lack of physical activity, maybe you've taken up smoking, alcoholism, drug use. So basically what we're saying here is an addiction. Okay, so I just pop that all under addiction. Maybe you're missing out on work, um, and physical and mental health. So just perhaps you've got severe obesity. Okay, so that could be as a result of emotional eating, but then maybe that's also something that you need to get checked out by the doctor. Maybe there's something that's just not going on, that's not right. But if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, your body, or emotional as well, your body is just not functioning as it should. If we're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or emotional, our our nervous system, it goes straight into that sympathetic nervous system state where digestion and our reproductive systems are the first things to like turn off. So it could be something related to that. We've got diabetes on there, depression, suicide attempts, STDs. Maybe you're going to have a higher risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, COPD, broken bones. Okay, so when we have all these adverse issues, we are effectively not learning how to self-regulate. So remember how I said earlier about mum when she's, got her baby and she's helping to bring baby back to balance. Okay, so either bringing them down or bringing them up to balance. Okay, so if you never experienced that, and also, how do you expect a caregiver that hasn't had that themselves to be able to teach that? Okay, you're okay on. Now, if you're not able to self regulate your body, then you are more susceptible to dis-ease or disorders. Okay, so in life, we call things diseases, but if you break down the word, there's a dis-ease within the body or a disorder within the body. Okay, so the effects of childhood maltreatment. So here's some percentages for you in the ACEs. So if you've had 4 or more ACEs, 3 or more ACEs, 2 or more ACEs, maybe you might correspond with one of these statistics. So I invite you to check that out. Okay. Don't know if you heard that, but Ollie is growling at something outside. All right, now I've actually got a tree analogy. So, and my tree analogy is that if we had 2 seedlings, right? So 2 little seedlings, you've gone to the nursery and one person buys this seedling and they've taken home that seedling and they've prepped the soil, they've fertilized it, they've conditioned it, they've made sure that this is the right spot for that particular seedling, and they've planted it properly and done everything that they need to, given it water. They've even put like that plastic around the tree to protect it from the weather, from animals, and they've totally nurtured this plant. Thank you all. They've nurtured this plant and they've given it so much love, making sure that it's watered, making sure that it's growing up. And when it's grown up, this tree is just so beautiful. It's strong and it's flexible. Okay, so that tree is able to blow in the wind just nicely. And as I said, it's got the strength and it's really strong. Whereas the other little seedling, it got taken home by somebody who just wasn't aware as to what it is that they were actually doing. They planted this tree in the wrong soil. They didn't water it. They didn't put any kind of protection around it. And it's kind of like they just planted it and forgot about it. It just seemed to grow on its own. They didn't nurture it at all. And this plant in that soil type, that they didn't fertilize, they didn't condition the soil at all before planting it, it really struggled. And this is years and years of struggle. It made this tree's life so hard, and it just couldn't grow at the same rate that it would have if it had had that nurturance and that love, that support, and the protection from animals, from weather. And it struggled. Okay. And that plant grew up and it just wasn't as flexible, like that wasn't as flexible. It was probably smaller than that healthy tree. And bits and pieces might just have broken off it because it just wasn't as strong. So it wasn't as strong, it wasn't as flexible, it definitely wasn't as healthy. And you've got to understand that when it dropped its seeds for the next trees, it's dropping them in that same earth, that same area, that same. So those little seedlings actually also would struggle to grow in that area. Yeah, they wouldn't have the support. They wouldn't have the flexibility, the protection. So hopefully you can understand from that, how we actually are as humans. So what sets what I do apart? Okay, so people experience profound enduring change. And look, what I actually do, it's kind of like peeling back the layers of an onion. So people come in because they've got issues that arise. They might have high anxiety, they might have suicidal thoughts, they might have addiction, they might have anger issues, and they come in and they might have tried every other thing, and like they might have been to different counselors, and they just want help. They've talked and talked and talked, and they've done everything that they can. They know consciously what should be going on, but they just cannot shift this feeling. So what I actually offer is to be able to dissolve and release that feeling so that they aren't impacted by that in the future. And what I can tell you is that it is transformative, because when you're actually able to release, dissolve, resolve, allow that emotion that had come in and got trapped inside you to actually be released, that when you release that, your boundaries automatically come up. It's not an effort. It's not a conscious effort anymore. And you respond differently to people. Your body language changes. Okay, your thought processes change. And it is transformational. It is subtle. It is compassionate. So yeah, I can't say enough about it. I do use cutting edge therapies, so you've just got to experience it, and you can experience it simply by one of my programs. So we've got the Jamaican Edge here. Now it is a 3-session program. So this includes the first, as do all my programs, a first session is 2 hours. That first session, we are spending 1 hour going over the intake form, and that will include your medical history, your health history. And as I said earlier, the reason why we touch on health history is because when you internalize so much emotion, that it tends to leak out in other areas of our body. Like I said, dis-ease and disorders. Okay, so that's part of the intake form. Another part is actually our generational history. I want to know about how mum grew up, how dad grew up, because that has a direct impact on who you are as a person today. Okay, so the second hour is about what you want. So How do you want to be? What is it that you want? And then we use the psychotherapy, hypnotherapy side, every tool that I have at my disposal, I will use dependent on what it is that you bring me. Because each person is unique, each person is different, and I use what you bring. All right, we've got this Jamaican fusion. It's 6 sessions. So once again, first session is 2 hours, and any following sessions are 1 hour. Okay. Now, with this particular offer of the Jamaican fusion, we have a bonus. I will also include the wellness kit, the Dice of Authenticity, 30-day authenticity challenge. Okay. And I'll also include for you the first module of Decode Rejection and Build Body Intelligence, which is kind of like a foundational program as to what rejection is. Okay. Jamaican Max. Okay, so this is kind of like an unlimited offer. I'm offering this for 3 months. Okay. So what you'll get is that first session, once again, is 2 hours. Okay. Now you'll end up with a maximum of 2 sessions per week, and you will receive homework. Okay, so you have to ensure that you do the homework before I will even book the next session. Okay, I have to know that you are working just as hard as I am. Okay, so that's the Jamaican Max. Unlimited, terms and conditions apply. Now, this one I absolutely love, the Jamaican Intensive. It is a full day immersion experience. I will come to you and we work that day, that entire day. So it might be at your work, with your family, out in social experiences. Maybe it's with your kids. So I work with you, and whatever it is that's coming up for you, we work on it there and then. I think that this is just a prime opportunity to be out in the world, actually healing and dissolving as it happens. This is something that you don't get when you're coming in here and sitting in the chair. So I will travel for that as well. Travel is something that's not included in the price. That is something that you have to pay for. So there is 3 bonuses. I will offer you my wellness kit, the Raw Reflections Journal, and also my cheat sheet is included within that. Okay. Now, the return on investment. To me, it is priceless, because what I offer is change for the rest of your life. This isn't just a 1-month change. This is lifelong. Okay. Now, the Jamaican Edge program, that's $997. We've got the Jamaican Fusion program, $1,600. You will save $1,400 on that program. Okay. We have the Jamaican Intensive, which is my personal fave, $2,000. Okay. Now, the Jamaican Max, which is unlimited, that is $2,997. Okay. Now, all of my programs, I do work either online or in person. Okay. Now, I am located in a little country town out in Gippsland. So whether or not you're able to get to me or not, I don't know. But I do work online. Oh, and just to say, online works just as good as in person. All right, now I do provide an assurance. So if you're not happy, if you don't get that, at least an aha moment or some sort of shift, I will work with you until you do. But that is my guarantee. You will have change. Now, these are just some testimonials. So I highly recommend. After 30 years, we were able to shift what was going on for her. And This person's anger approach, it was different. He no longer felt that anger. And these two, they gave up smoking after just one session. Okay. And this person, she was able to feel more positive. And, she definitely noticed the difference, how she responds to people. My experience with Julie was amazing. She is excellent in so many areas, and she helped me with my childhood trauma. She exactly knows her work well, and I am so happy I chose her for help. From the very first phone call, it all started to click in place with her. Very understanding, caring, and open in terms of her work.
Hi guys, I just wanted to say how thankful I am for Julie. She was absolutely amazing. I came to her to help with my skin issues, my gut issues, and just over one session, she completely helped me so much. So if you guys are looking for somebody, I definitely recommend going to Julie. Hi guys,
I just had a session with Julie Nakin and it was great. She has just such a gentle, compassionate, caring manner, and she is so thorough in her process and allowed me, I should say, to go to places that I haven't been before, and it was so therapeutic. So thank you so much for your time and your capacity. It was great. I just had a session.
Okay, so we do have some facts here because some people ask the question, how will this help me stop people pleasing? Well, because when we peel back the layers of the onion, you no longer feel the need to people please. You will become the person that you were meant to be instead of the person that you've been shaped and conditioned to be. So, is it suitable for someone with past trauma? 100%. That is what we do, because any time that you were criticized, any time that you felt rejected or abandoned, that is like an internal wound, which is the trauma. So we work at dissolving that and healing it so that it's no longer coming up for you. Okay, so what results can I expect and when? Each person is different, but the results, as I said earlier, they are transformational, and it is very subtle but very compassionate. So, will this work for someone like me? If you're willing to put into the work, and if you believe that change can happen, it will happen. Okay, you just have to work with me. And how is this different from counseling and a psychologist? Well, I work with the body. So not only do I work with the body, I work subconsciously. So what is it that your body is telling you? What sensations is it giving off? Because what I can tell you is it starts with the body. Everything starts with the body, from our five senses. What we see, hear, feel, smell, taste is all a sensation that's coming in the body. Okay. And then it goes to the head. Okay. Where the head then might decide on something, but sometimes the body, it responds so quickly that, it starts with the body. Okay. And that's where I work. Look, I want to help, but pretty much I want to help everybody, but it has to be with somebody who is ready. Okay, so if you are a cigarette smoker or you've got some sort of addiction going on, are you ready to let go of that addiction? Because if you're not at like a 9 or 10, then it's not going to happen because you're not ready. Okay, so if you're ready to stop people pleasing and feeling obligated, if you want to feel validated, if you want to feel justified in how you feel, perhaps you want to feel like you're worthy, like you're enough. Maybe you want to know who you actually are. Do you know your identity? And just perhaps you're like, what future do I want? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to become? What do I want to do? I'm offering you the chance to create your own path. You deserve it. Okay? Know who you really are and create your own path. I am offering you a different future, a different way to be a happier, more well balanced person. Okay, one that perhaps gets curious about things, one that seeks adventure and enjoyment and exploration. Yeah. So please click on the QR code and find yourself. I'll give you a moment. Pull out your camera and click on that free chat. It is no obligation, it is completely free. And let me show you what change can happen. Okay. Now, this is your last chance, okay? Now, I'd like to say thank you to you for attending because your time is valuable, as is mine. So, thank you so much for being here. I am truly grateful. Thanks so much. Bye for now. Call me.